Today, we're stepping into a story that will both scare and break your heart. It took place on Staten Island, New York, on March 30th, 2019. This is the case of Janine Camerata, a teacher and mum of 3 years who can't be found. Her 3 kids are the most important things in her life. The first graders at Public School 29 love her, and she works at Dollar Tree to pay the bills. It's just after 8 p.m. on a Saturday, and she and her boyfriend Aaron Suchecki are coming home from shopping. They went to Target to pick up some random things. Nothing important, just everyday things. Aaron lives in New Brighton. She drops him off and tells him she's going to Queens to see her 2 youngest children. Her white 2017 Chevy Cruze pulls away and the headlights shine through the dark. That's it. Anyone who sees her breathe for the last time. After hours, she doesn't call, text, or show up in her car. She doesn't show up to Public School 29 in Castleton Corners on Monday, April 1st. Linda Manfredi, her principal, knows something is wrong. People can count on Janine. If she's going to be late, she'll call. She doesn't. Aaron is also worried. She hasn't talked to him since Saturday. By noon, police have heard that Janine has gone missing. The police are on the scene right away. Where is her car? Did she get to Queens? There are more and more questions every hour. Janine taught kids to read during the day, stocked shelves at night, and fought for her own kids in the middle. She went out into the dark that Saturday with hope, but something or someone put it out. Janine Camerata was only 4 feet 11 inches, but her spirit was huge. Chris Ross, her sister, said she was the family glue because she was always there to laugh or lend a hand. She found her calling as a teacher in 2005. She got a job with the Department of Education and ended up working at Staten Island's Public School 29. She was proud of her first graders. She would spend hours making lessons fun, and the kids would smile and hug her back. As a teacher wasn't enough to pay the bills, she worked extra hours at a Dollar Tree in Grant City. Janine always had 2 jobs and was always on the go. What really drives her? Her kids. One was from her first relationship and is now a teen, living with their dad on Long Island. The other 2 were from her marriage to Michael Camerata and are 3 and 7 years old, respectively. That marriage had promise at first, but quickly turned bad. She really liked Michael when they first started dating because he was great at telling her, "I love you," all the time. On the inside, she dreamed that they would ride off into the sunset together and make beautiful music together. In the end, they got married in April of the next year. In the beginning, they were very happy together, but after a few years, things started to get tense and they stopped getting along. In 2017, she had had enough. She left the house they shared and moved into an apartment in New Brighton. It was more than just a move. After run-ins with Michael that made her feel unsafe, she got a protective order against him. She fought hard for custody of her kids, who stayed with him in Queens. She saved all of her money for that dream, a stable home where her family could be whole again. She was strong, even though she had been hurt and things were going wrong. She had to win that custody battle. She had court dates coming up and was ready to face Michael again. She was determined to get her kids back. Christine, Janine's sister, told police that she filed for divorce from Michael on Thursday, just 2 days before Janine was last seen alive, and asked for custody of their children. She asked out loud if Michael had done something bad to Janine, which could be why no one could get in touch with her. From what she told Christine, it was clear that Janine's relationship with Michael had been tense, especially since she was fighting for custody of the kids. Christine was more worried about Aaron, Janine's current boyfriend, though. She hadn't told her sister much about Aaron. but Christine thought he seemed strange when she met him for the first time. Aaron said that the last time he saw or talked to Janine was Saturday night or Sunday, but detectives couldn't get rid of the thought that Aaron might have done it. When they looked into his background, they found that Aaron had been in trouble with the law before. He had been arrested twice, including once for contempt for breaking a protection order made by a girlfriend years before he met Janine. That set off alarms. Aaron was called by police and asked if he would be willing to talk in person. They wanted to check his story and make sure he was where he said he was. Aaron said that they were happy together. They met at work, and he told her he loved her. He told her that they didn't live together and that the last time he talked to her was at 9 p.m. on Saturday when she left his house. It was said that she was going to meet Michael when she took off in her car. He said Janine hadn't called or texted him in days. Then, on April 1st, 2019, she sent him messages saying she didn't want to talk to anyone because she had a long night and day and asked him not to get in touch with her. She would eventually get in touch. He thought they were no longer together without having a proper conversation. He started texting her bad language because he was angry. The messages could have been used against him, but he gave them all the information willingly, so they didn't think he was involved. Yet, they let him go because they knew they could come back for him if they had to. As the investigation went on, the detectives went through all of Janine's complicated relationships. Michael's need to be in charge and the new divorce papers made things look bad, and Aaron's strange behavior and criminal past made people doubt him. The truth was somewhere in the mix. Had Janine left on her own, or had someone shut her up for good? Nicole's friend Dominique called a lot of news outlets and newspapers, anything they could think of to get the word out. Janine's friends, especially Jessica, were very worried, and their efforts quickly paid off. There were stories in many places asking people to call the Crime Stoppers hotline and share any information they had. It was now Tuesday, and Janine still hadn't been seen since Saturday. Police became more worried that something bad had happened the longer she went without calling or being called. Her complete absence was a puzzle, and it became clear that this might be more than just a case of a missing person. When the detectives first got there, they went to Janine's house to look for clues that could help them find her. The landlord was home, so she let them into her apartment. Nothing seemed wrong on the inside. There are no signs of a fight. It still had all of her clothes and other things. It looked like nothing had been taken or moved. It was hoped that they could find her Chevy Cruze because Janine had 2 cars registered to her name. They knew she mostly drove the Cruze because she let Michael use the Chrysler Town and Country for the kids, but the Chevy Cruze wasn't to be found. Detectives asked for a search to be done using license plate readers, a key investigative tool that can only be found in a huge city like New York City. These devices, which were spread out across the city, took a picture of a license plate and recorded information about its owner, including the make, model, and color. The hits told us a lot. It made sense that Michael used the Chrysler Town and Country every day since Sunday, since it still had multiple pings from that day until Tuesday when they searched it. The Chevy Cruze, on the other hand, took a hit after 9 p.m. on Saturday when Aaron said Janine left to go to Queens. The trail got cold after that. On Sunday night, the Cruze crossed the Verrazzano Bridge back into Staten Island. This was 24 hours after she was said to have been in Queens meeting Michael. After that long break, the detectives wondered what she had been up to. As of 2019, Michael did not have a cell phone, which made it impossible for the detectives to talk to him. They thought that was strange because surely everyone had a phone. They called Michael's sister, who told them he worked as a mail carrier in Manhattan. He was there, so they would have to go talk to him. Since Michael was at work and Janine wasn't there, they had a new worry. Where were their kids? It had been 3 days since Janine last saw her kids, so the police needed to make sure they were safe and find out when they last saw their mom. Michael's sister said that Aisha, his current girlfriend, dropped and picked up the kids from school when Michael had to work. Aisha had driven the kids that Tuesday. Investigators told her to give Janine's kids to social workers in the county. Detective Torres then sat down with her to talk to her. When they told Aisha they were looking into Janine's disappearance, Torres thought it was strange that she didn't seem concerned. She was taking care of Janine's kids, so she should have been worried, right? Aisha told them that Janine had taught her kids at PS18 and often helped out in the classroom. They became friends over time, and Janine would sometimes ask Aisha to watch her kids. Janine had even told Aisha that she was no longer seeing Michael and that she thought the two of them would make a great couple. Aisha told Torres that Michael was angry after getting papers for child support and alimony. This was the last time she saw Janine. She also said that their relationship was friendly. Aisha said that the day before Janine went missing, she called her to set up a meeting with Michael to talk about the kids. The two groups agreed that Janine would meet them in Queens to talk about the court papers and take the kids away for the weekend. Aisha says Janine met them in front of their building. Then she said they all got in the car and drove a block away. Michael told her it was too late because the kids were already asleep when she asked to take them, and Janine said she'd stay there to rest. Aisha and Michael then left her in the car to sleep. Aisha said that was the last time they saw her. Torres didn't agree with the story. They didn't check on Janine later, after leaving her to sleep alone in the car, which seemed odd. There was something off about it, but they still didn't have proof of a crime. It was just a case of a missing person. While Torres talked to Aisha, social workers checked in with Janine's kids and confirmed that they hadn't seen their mum but were fine in other ways. Since Michael was still in Manhattan, waiting to talk to the police, they were given back to Aisha's care. According to Aisha, she and Michael were the last people who saw Janine alive. Michael didn't show much emotion when he talked to the police. He just sat there, almost emotionless. As the police were getting ready to look into Michael's version of events, he told them that he and Aisha had met up with Janine on Saturday night. He said they had a fight, but it was already late, so they split up in the parking lot. He said Janine drove back to Staten Island, and he hadn't seen or talked to her since then. But the readout from the license plate reader didn't match up with his plan. She drove her Chevy Cruze across the border into Staten Island on both Saturday night and Sunday night, 24 hours apart. When asked, "Are you sure you're telling the truth?" Michael was getting tense and moving around in his seat. He finally admitted that the fight over divorce papers and child custody had become physical when he was pushed. He told her he had touched her and pushed her. Everything changed when they said that. It also meant that Aisha had lied about what she said before. His story became less stable as he talked. After admitting to the assault, he shut down and asked for a lawyer, which ended the interview. But what he said was enough for them to arrest him for misdemeanor assault and hold him while they figured out what happened to Janine. As the detectives dug deeper into their past, they found reports of domestic violence between Michael and Janine. The warning signs got worse, as friends had seen. Michael's controlling behavior was too much for her to handle. He changed her Facebook passwords, tried to hack her emails, and even drove after her from work without lights on to follow her home. Jessica had once talked to Janine, and asked her if everything was okay. Janine didn't care and said, "No, he never hit me." Friends could help, but they couldn't always be there, and Janine probably kept darker things from them. It was Michael who was first thought to be guilty.
In fact, Jessica Pobega says she was having a text message exchange with someone pretending to be Janine Camarata, not Janine, adding she believes that someone was the estranged husband, Michael. Michael Camarata is now a prime suspect.
Detectives looked at the surveillance footage from the apartment building. It was very clear, so there was no question about who was there or when things happened. Janine's Chevy Cruze pulled up in the video. It took Michael and Aisha about 20 minutes to park after they got in and drove down the street. Michael then got out, walked over to the driver's side, and got back in. He returned the car to his apartment. That proved Aisha wrong when she said Janine had stayed behind to sleep in the car. The video kept following Michael around the courtyard, and his face was easy to spot. He came back later with a shopping cart and a black plastic trash bag and put something heavy from Janine's white Cruze into the cart. They were scared because they knew it was probably Janine in that bag. Aisha came in and held the door open for Michael as he rolled the cart inside. When they left the next morning with the same bag and a blue bin, cameras caught them. They had clearly hurt Janine in some way. Aisha was taken to the police station once more. She stayed eerily calm and told the same story she had the day before. The police showed her stills from surveillance footage of her and Michael pushing a shopping cart with a plastic bag inside. They said, "That car had 3 people in it. You and him were the only ones who got out when it pulled back. You know what took place." When Aisha was pushed, her story changed, and the truth began to come out. When detectives showed Aisha a mountain of video evidence linking her to Janine's murder, she lost her cool, and her story changed in a big way. She said that chaos broke out in the car while they were riding. The fight between Janine and Michael got really bad. Janine hit Michael first, Aisha said, which made him hit her back. Janine lost consciousness, Aisha said. When asked what happened next, Aisha said, Michael put Janine in the passenger seat, slid into the driver's seat, and drove off down the street. Later, he went outside and got a shopping cart and some bags. Aisha admitted that she had helped him put Janine's body in one of the bags. When they got back to the apartment, Aisha said Janine woke up. She was still half in the bag, but awake and talking. The fight broke out again. Janine lost it. She screamed, pulled out her hair, and yelled about everything. Aisha said Michael was scared because of Janine's loud screams. Because he didn't want the neighbors to hear, he punched her and knocked her out again. When Aisha woke up later, Janine was already out of the apartment and in Michael's bag. Aisha said Janine was still breathing at that point. Aisha told the police she didn't know where Janine was when they asked her. Aisha was caught and charged with being an accomplice to the crime. This is when the case really opened up. There was a very bad discovery that changed the search for a missing person into something bigger. Today, April 4th, 2019, is the 5th day since Janine's white Chevy Cruze was last seen. The police station's phone rang right then. There was a sign that Michael was renting a storage unit on Staten Island based on a tip from Crime Stoppers. The area is quiet and only 4.5 miles from Janine's apartment in New Brighton. There are rows of green doors lit by floodlights, and it looks like a place to hide old furniture, not secrets. The team got a warrant to search the unit that was registered to Michael. When they got there, they cut the lock and rolled the gate up. Inside was a normal storage area with boxes and personal items, but a big black trash bag caught their eye. When the police opened it, They saw horrible things inside, burned out bodies of people. Even with the air fresheners, the air was thick. A last-ditch effort to hide the problem that didn't work.
Early this morning, members of the NYPD recovered human remains on the southern end of Staten Island on Arden Avenue. These remains were charred and unidentifiable, and currently the New York City Medical Examiner is conducting an autopsy to determine the identification and the cause of death of this individual. We are continuing our search of the storage facility for additional evidence. This leads us to our missing 37-year-old mother of three, Mrs. Janine Camarata.
Asphyxiation and blunt force injuries to the head were the causes of death, which were confirmed by an autopsy the next day. The medical examiner took the whole container. With the help of dental records, they were sure it was Janine Camarata. It was official. She had been killed, and her body had been found. That teacher from Staten Island, the mum who fought for her kids, was gone. She was burned, put in a bag, and left like trash. Once the police found Janine, they had to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Michael had killed her and dumped her body. The storage locker that was registered in his name was a strong hint, but they still needed more. They watched the surveillance footage and found out exactly when Michael had been at the facility. It showed Janine and Aisha's kids getting out of the Chrysler Town and Country after it pulled in and parked. Michael and Aisha took out the plastic bag that had Janine's body in it. Michael then moved the tub into the storage unit. The video made it clearer what happened to Janine and how indifferent the people who did it were. According to Aisha, Michael hit Janine, but the autopsy showed that she had a blow to the back of the head. Michael was in the front passenger seat, and Janine was sitting behind him. This means that Aisha, who was in the back seat, most likely hit Michael. More proof showed that Aisha helped Michael with the crime at every step. What started out as assault charges turned into charges of second-degree murder against both of them. Even though they said they weren't guilty, the prosecutors said it was because of money. Michael's lawyer said that paying child support and alimony would cost a lot of money. Aisha put her trust in, making her look like the person who had the most to gain from Janine's death. Let's go to September 28, 2021. The State Supreme Court in St. George, Staten Island. Michael Camarata's trial starts, and it's a marathon. 5 weeks of testimony that peel back the nightmare of March 30th, 2019. The prosecution was strong, led by Assistant DAs Adam Silverlight and Timothy Richard. The surveillance tape showed Michael going from Queens to Arden Heights with that bag. They also had the van's GPS and the storage unit he rented. It was clear from their story that this wasn't an accident. Michael planned it, ran over Janine, killed her, and burned her to hide the truth. Prosecutors say Michael C. and Aisha drove the body to South Jersey and set it on fire there after sitting with it overnight. With Mario Gallucci in charge of defense, they came back with a twist. They didn't say Michael didn't move the body, but they did say Aisha did it. They said she had 6 kids and was afraid Michael would stop supporting her if Janine won the case. After hours of deliberation, they made their decision on October 18th, 2021. Guilty on all counts, including murder, hiding, tampering, and more. Michael kept a straight face as the verdict came in. Christine, Janine's sister, tried not to cry. Judge Mario Mattei gave Michael a sentence of 23 years to life on November 17th. He had no mercy for what he had done. Michael said, "I'm sorry, but it was hard to hear. That's awful, but it's not solid."
I am sorry for everything that happened. I am sorry for Jack, for Catherine, Joey, Christine's kids, because it's true, they will never know Janine the way I knew her.
Aisha, on the other hand, took a deal and admitted to first-degree manslaughter. The judge gave her a sentence of 7 to 9 years, which Janine's family and friends thought was way too light. They thought she should get at least as much time in jail as Michael. That's a wrap for today's case. If you're passionate about true crime, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay safe and always stay curious.